Welcome to this lecture. Today we will discussing about the mechanics. Mechanics is a branch of physics in which we study the motion of material objects. वो ब्रांच फिजिक्स का जिस ब्रांच में हम मटेरियल ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन पढ़ेंगे उस ब्रांच को हम फिजिक्स में मैकेनिक्स कहते हैं। मटेरियल ऑब्जेक्ट्स क्या होते हैं? ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैविंग मास। ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैविंग मास। फॉर एग्जांपल, कार हैज अ मास। सो we study motion of car in a branch of physics, and that branch of physics is called as mechanics. Electron has a mass. Therefore, motion of electron can be studied in a branch of physics, and that branch of physics is called as mechanics. Mechanics is basically of two types. We have relativistic mechanics, and the second one we have non-relativistic mechanics. मैकेनिक्स जो है बेसिकली मैकेनिक्स दो टाइप्स की है। एक को हम कहते हैं रिलेटिविस्टिक मैकेनिक्स, दूसरे को हम कहते हैं नॉन रिलेटिविस्टिक मैकेनिक्स। रिलेटिविस्टिक मैकेनिक्स जो है, दिस डील्स विद द मोशन ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स which are moving with a speed which is comparable to the speed of light. Relativistic mechanics जो है, ये फिजिक्स का, ये मैकेनिक्स का बेसिकली वो टाइप, इट इज दैट टाइप ऑफ मैकेनिक्स इन विच वी स्टडी मोशन ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स। उन ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन पढ़ रहे हैं हम जिन ऑब्जेक्ट्स की वेलोसिटी स्पीड जो होगी दैट विल बी कंपैरेबल विद द स्पीड ऑफ लाइट। अगर ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन स्पीड ऑफ लाइट से बहुत कम होगी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अ कार ट्रेवलिंग ऑन द रोड, उन ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन जो है वो हम उस मैकेनिक्स में पढ़ेंगे जिस मैकेनिक्स को हम कहेंगे नॉन रिलेटिविस्टिक मैकेनिक्स। तो हम कहेंगे नॉन रिलेटिविस्टिक मैकेनिक्स जो है वो दैट टाइप ऑफ मैकेनिक्स इन विच वी स्टडी द मोशन ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स which are moving at a very low speed, जो motion of aeroplane, that is also a low speed motion. So motion of aeroplane we study in a branch of mechanics that's called, in a mechanics, that mechanics is called as non-relativistic mechanics. तो mechanics जो है ये basically दो किस्म की है, relativistic mechanics, non-relativistic mechanics. Here we will be discussing the non-relativistic mechanics. तो non-relativistic mechanics जो है इसमें हम उन ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन पढ़ेंगे which are moving at very low speed. Now this mechanics has three branches. जो मैकेनिक्स है इस मैकेनिक्स के तीन ब्रांचेस हैं. It has three sub branches. We can call them sub branches of mechanics. We have statics, number second kinematics, number third dynamics. These three, they are called as sub branches of mechanics: statics, kinematics and dynamics. Statics जो है, it is that branch of mechanics in which we study the objects which are at rest, which are in a state of rest or in a state of equilibrium. That branch of mechanics in which we study the objects which are at rest or which are in equilibrium, that branch of mechanics is called as statics. यहां पर रेस्ट और इक्विलिब्रियम में कभी कभी बच्चों को कंफ्यूजन होता है. नाउ इक्विलिब्रियम क्या होता है? इक्विलिब्रियम में क्या होता है, एक बॉडी हम लेंगे, इस बॉडी पे बहुत सारे फोर्सेस एक्ट होते हैं. When a large number of forces act on a body, if the sum of these forces acting on a body is zero, or we can say if the resultant force is zero, in that case, the body will be unable to change its position. Or we can say in that case, the body is said to be in an equilibrium. एक बॉडी जो है वो इक्विलिब्रियम में तब होती है जब इस बॉडी पे बहुत सारे फोर्सेस एक्ट हो जाएंगे, तो उन तमाम फोर्सेस का जो रिजल्टेंट सम है, वेक्टर सम है, वो वेक्टर सम जीरो होगा. तो हम कहेंगे उस वक्त जो बॉडी है, दैट बॉडी इज इन इक्विलिब्रियम. कभी कभी जब बॉडी रेस्ट में होती है, इस पे फोर्सेस एक्ट होते हैं, कभी नहीं होते हैं. Sometimes force acts on a body, sometimes no force acts on a body. When forces act on a body and the resultant sum of the force is equal to zero, in that case we will say that the body is in equilibrium. When no force acts on a body, we can say that the body is in a state of rest. When no force acts on a body and the body is unable to change its position with respect to the surroundings, we can say that the body is in a state of rest. So the branch of mechanics in which we study the motion, in which we study the objects at rest or in equilibrium, that branch of physics is called as statics. All of us know that force is the cause of motion. Whenever we apply a force on a body, the body is able to change its position. Now, that branch of mechanics in which we study motion of objects, यहां पर क्या है? We study motion of objects without knowing the cause. Without knowing the cause. That branch of mechanics is called as kinematics. Kinematics फिजिक्स का वो ब्रांच है जिस ब्रांच में हम उन ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मोशन पढ़ेंगे जिन ऑब्जेक्ट्स में हमें cause of motion पता नहीं होगा. We are not able to know the cause of the motion, how the motion is produced. That branch is called as kinematics. The third one is dynamics. Dynamics जो है ये मैकेनिक्स का वो ब्रांच है जिसमें हम मोशन पढ़ेंगे ऑब्जेक्ट्स की by knowing the cause. Here we are knowing the cause. Knowing the cause. That means here we are knowing the forces that produce motion. हम ऐसे बताएंगे dynamics जो है, it is that branch of mechanics in which we study the motion of objects by knowing the cause that produce the motion. So this was about the branches of mechanics. Now let us move ahead. हमारे पास दो टर्म्स है, रेस्ट, number second motion. We have read in earlier classes, in class 9th, if a body is unable to change its position with respect to the surroundings and with respect to the time, we can say that the body is in a state of rest. For example, a book lying on the table, that book is unable to change its position with respect to its surroundings. We can say that the book is in a state of rest. On the other hand, if a body changes its position with respect to the surroundings and with respect to the time, we can say that the body is in a state of motion. So we can say a body is in a state of motion if it changes its position with respect to its surroundings and with respect to the time. These rest and motion, they are relative terms. Relative terms. आज हम ये बताएंगे कि मोशन और रेस्ट जो होते हैं, दे आर रिलेटिव टर्म्स. देखिए सिंपल एग्जांपल है, अगर हमारे पास एक ट्रेन है, इस ट्रेन में बड़े सारे पैसेंजर्स बैठे हैं. जो ये पैसेंजर नंबर 1 है, it is at rest with respect to the passenger number 2 staying on a moving train. But with respect to the objects which are outside the train, this object number 1 is in motion. We can say if the object 1 is in a state of rest with respect to the passenger number 2 which is also in the train, at the same time this object number 1 is in a state of motion with respect to the objects lying outside the train. तो यहां पर हमें यह पता चला कि जो ये ऑब्जेक्ट है with respect to the fellow passenger inside the train, it is at rest, But with respect to the passenger, with respect to the person sitting outside the train, this object is in motion. So in one case, the object is at rest, but in another case, the same object is in motion. Therefore, motion and rest, they are relative terms. We will move ahead. Few terms we have to study in this motion in one dimensions is, number one, frame of reference. Frame of reference. ये frame of reference क्या है? Frame of reference basically it's a coordinate system, it's a set of axes with respect to which we will be able to locate the position of object which may be at rest or which may be in motion. So frame of reference is basically a set of axes, we can say a coordinate system with respect to which we can locate the position of objects which are at rest or in motion. At different times. At different times. Frame of reference is basically a coordinate set of coordinate axes. We can say set of axes with respect to which we will be able to know, to measure the position of objects which are either at rest or in motion at different times. The simplest frame of reference is a three-dimensional rectangular Cartesian coordinate system which consists of three mutually perpendicular axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Simplest frame of reference is a rectangular Cartesian coordinate system which consists of three mutually perpendicular axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. The point where these three axes meet each other, that point is called as origin, or here we can say that point is called as reference point. Because we will be measuring the position of object with respect to this point O, and this point O is therefore called as origin or reference point. Now, how to locate the position of object in a space? We know that space is three-dimensional. Therefore, it consists of three axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. To locate the position of, say, point P in the space, we require three numbers. Say these three numbers are x, y, z. अगर हमारे पास कोई भी पॉइंट स्पेस में होगा, उस पॉइंट की अगर हमने स्पेस में उसकी पोजीशन मेजर करनी होगी, उस पॉइंट की पोजीशन लोकेट करनी होगी, we need three numbers. Say x, y and z. These three numbers x, y and z, they are called as position coordinates. These numbers are called as position coordinates. These position coordinates represent the distance of point from the origin along x-axis, यहां से यहां तक ये होगी x, ये हो गया आपका y, and this is your z. These three numbers, they basically represent the distance of this point along the three axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. These numbers, they are called as position coordinates. Because with the help of these coordinates, we will be able to locate the position of a particle. We will be able to say how much the particle is along x-axis from the origin. At how much distance the particle is along y-axis from the origin. At how much distance the particle the object or the particle or the object is from the origin along z-axis. So, in order to locate the position of particle in a space, we require 3 coordinates, and these coordinates are called as position coordinates. These coordinates, they represent the distance of the point from the origin along the x-axis, along the y-axis, along the z-axis. तो अगर हमें किसी भी पॉइंट या किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट की पोजीशन स्पेसिफाई करनी होगी, तो we require the 3 coordinates, and these coordinates are x coordinate, y coordinate, and z coordinate. Now, with the help of these 3 position coordinates, we will be able to classify the motion. We will be able to classify the motion. Motion is classified into 3 types. Number 1, one-dimensional motion. Number 2, two-dimensional motion. Number 3, three-dimensional motion. We have 3 types of motions. One-dimensional motion, या इसको हम कहते हैं motion in 1 dimensions. Two-dimensional motion, या इसको हम कहते हैं motion in 2 dimensions. Three-dimensional motion, या इसको हम कहते हैं motion in 3 dimensions. पहले हम यहां डिस्कस करेंगे one-dimensional motion. हमें पता है कि in order to specify the position of an object at any point in space, we require 3 position coordinates x, y, and z. If these position coordinates does not change with time, अगर ये position coordinates time के साथ change नहीं हो गए, we can say that object is at rest. अगर if these position coordinates change with time, we can say the body is in motion. If during the, यहाँ देखो, this is point P, this is the distance of point P from the origin. We represent this distance by x. This is y, it represents the distance of object from the origin, O, along y-axis. And this is z coordinate. It represents the distance of object from the origin along the z-axis at any time t, say at any time t1. Suppose after time t2, or we can say at time t2, the object is at point q. Suppose at point q, this object has coordinates x1, y, and z. It means that while traveling from P to Q, only one coordinate of object changes with time, that's x, while as the other 2 coordinates y and z, they remain same. Such type of motion in which only one position coordinate changes with time is called one-dimensional motion. We can say in this way, an object is said to have one-dimensional motion if out of 3 position coordinates which are required to specify the position of object, only one changes with the time. In that case, we can say that our object has one-dimensional motion. During one-dimensional motion, the object travels along a straight line. It can travel along straight line. It may not be only the horizontal motion, it may be the vertical motion also. Suppose x and z, they remain constant, y changes. So we can say motion of an object falling freely towards the ground, that is one-dimensional motion. So during one-dimensional motion, the object moves along a straight line. For example, motion of a car along a straight road is a one-dimensional motion. Now, two-dimensional motion. Two-dimensional motion. Here, we have three planes, XY plane, YZ plane and ZX plane. A plane has two dimensions. It has two axes, two mutually perpendicular axes. Suppose at any time t1, my object is at point P and it has position coordinates x1, x, y and z. मेरा ऑब्जेक्ट है, दिस ऑब्जेक्ट इज एट पॉइंट P और यहां पॉइंट P पे इसके कोऑर्डिनेट्स है x, y और z. Now, suppose in due course of time, my object moves in this way. Here it is again moving along a straight line, but it is moving in a plane. Now, this is x, that is the distance of the object from the origin along x-axis. This is y, that is the distance of the object from the origin along y-axis, and this is z, that is the distance of the object from the origin along z-axis. Suppose at time t2, the object reaches point Q, while its coordinates are x1, y1 and z. This is x1, this is y1, this is z. So here we see that when the object moves from point P to Q, out of the three coordinates x, y and z, two coordinates change with time, that are x coordinate and y coordinate. Such type of motion in which out of three coordinates required to specify the motion of object to change with time is called as two-dimensional motion. एक ऑब्जेक्ट की मोशन को हम तब टू डायमेंशनल मोशन कहेंगे जब जिन तीन कोऑर्डिनेट्स की जरूरत है इस ऑब्जेक्ट की पोजीशन स्पेसिफाई करने के लिए, इनमें से जो दो कोऑर्डिनेट्स है, चाहे एक्स वाई है, चाहे वाई जेड है या जेड एक्स है, वो चेंज हो जाएंगे विद टाइम. वी कैन से दैट द मोशन ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट इज अ टू डायमेंशनल मोशन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द मोशन ऑफ अ कार मूविंग अलोंग ए सर्कुलर ट्रैक. जब कार सर्कुलर ट्रैक में चलेगी, इस कार के दो कोऑर्डिनेट्स जो है, चाहे एक्स और वाई होंगे, वाई और जेड होंगे, या जेड और वाई होंगे, या जेड और एक्स होंगे, दैट चेंज विद टाइम. सच टाइप ऑफ मोशन इज कॉल्ड एज अ टू डायमेंशनल मोशन. नाउ थ्री डायमेंशनल मोशन. नाउ अगर ये तीनों कोऑर्डिनेट्स, तीनों पोजीशन कोऑर्डिनेट्स जो बॉडी के हैं, एक्स वाई जेड है, अगर ये तीनों कोऑर्डिनेट्स टाइम के साथ चेंज हो गई, we can say that the body has three-dimensional motion. For example, motion of aeroplane, motion of kite, वो थ्री-डायमेंशनल मोशन है. वहां पर जो ये तीनों पोजीशन कोऑर्डिनेट्स है वो चेंज होते हैं टाइम के साथ. तो आपने देखा वन-डायमेंशनल मोशन में आउट ऑफ थ्री पोजीशन कोऑर्डिनेट्स वन चेंजेस विद टाइम. टू-डायमेंशनल मोशन में आउट ऑफ थ्री कोऑर्डिनेट्स टू चेंज विद टाइम. Two-dimensional motion में, three-dimensional motion में, out of three position coordinates which are required to specify the position of object, three change with time. All the three change with time. We can say that in that case, the body has a three-dimensional motion. Since due to 2G internet, we will be unable to upload the long videos, so we have decided only to upload the short videos. So next topic में जो हम है, we will be studying distance and displacement. आप लोग तब तक 9th क्लास में आपने डिस्टेंस और डिस्प्लेसमेंट पढ़ा होगा. आप लोग उसको फिर से देखिएगा और इंशाल्लाह अगले लेक्चर में हम डिस्टेंस और डिस्प्लेसमेंट में जाएंगे. थैंक यू वेरी मच.